Strong and fierce, taking over. No one can deny we're queens in our own right. Swagger on fleek, we're ruling the game. Turning heads, yeah, we're making our own name. Living free, we're breaking the mold. Unapologetic, we're standing bold. Every picture we post, it's a story untold. We're inspiring souls, watch us unfold. Watch us unfold.
Hey sis, welcome to an episode of Rooted in Your Confidence. If you've been following me for a while, you might remember that this podcast started with a different name. It ain't about them, it's about you. But as I kept working, coaching, and having real conversations with women in male dominated industries, I knew I needed a name that spoke directly to what the episode is all about. Rooted in Your Confidence is about standing firm, who you are, and trusting your voice, and knowing you don't have to twist, shrink, or prove yourself to belong. Now, in today's episode, you'll hear me mention the old podcast name because I recorded this conversation before I made the switch. But the message is just as powerful, and I couldn't think of a better guest for the first episode than Lorra Brown. Lorra spent years navigating male-dominated spaces, breaking barriers, helping women to see their value, use their voices, and own their place in the room. She's not talking about change, she's making it happen. From advocating for women in workplace to equipping them with the tools to thrive. Lorra has built a career on showing women that they don't have to play small to be successful. I know you're going to take so much from this conversation. So let's get into it. I am your host, Samantha Kay, and I'm so excited you're here. This podcast is for women who feel alone, unseen, unsure of how to navigate their roles in these spaces. You're not alone, sis, and this is your space where you learn, grow, feel empowered, and step into your full power without waiting for anyone else's permission. Today, I have the honor and the privilege to introduce Lorra Brown, founder of LBE Consulting, is a leading tax and finance expert with over 15 years of experience, specializing in the trucking industry. She guided businesses like Brinks and UPS to financial success. As a speaker and coach, Lorra empowers entrepreneurs to master their finances and fuel their growth. Her mission is clear. Her business owners understand their numbers to thrive. Hey, Lorra, welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much, Samantha, for having me this morning. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Well, thank you for coming. We're going to jump into it. If you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your journey, that would be great.
Okay. So again, I'm Lorra Brown, and so my journey has been one of those that has been very difficult in a male-dominated area. Most people don't know I started out in the union. So that is specifically male-dominated for union reps and treasuries or whatever bargaining committees positions that you sit on. It's mostly men at the table. And so I progressed to CEO positions, CFO positions, and then started my own company. So I love what I'm doing, helping other women to really understand their numbers and how business works, and not just have a seat at the table, but have a voice at the same time.
That is awesome. I love that. Kudos to you. Shout out to you for doing it in a male dominated industry. I get it. I understand. So what brought you into that male dominated industry? What inspired you to carve your space there?
So I always, as a child, loved numbers, and I always told my parents that I was going to be an accountant. And so that was everything that I took in school. I loved math. In high school, I started taking accounting courses, and it was then what really changed and pivoted me that I knew that was what I was going to do. And I knew that I was going to do tax when something happened with my family. My dad had someone to prepare a tax return. He didn't understand it. And I'll never forget the several trips of going to the IRS office at that time. And so the last time that he visited that office, then I accompanied him, and the man was so rude. And I was like, you know what? No one's ever going to talk to my parents like that again.
Come on, somebody standing up for the parents. I love
Yes.
it. I love it.
Yes.
I think a lot of times that's what happens. We're fueled by experiences in our lives that shift us and motivate us to move forward to protect the ones we love and, not even just ourselves, but our loved ones. And I think it's so important.
Most definitely.
Yeah. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced in your earlier career and how did you navigate them?
So, in my earlier career, when I started out in the union, it was male dominated, no women whatsoever. Women were not sitting on the bargaining committee. I was the first woman to sit on the bargaining committee. I was the first woman to help with having our own union insurance and negotiate that. And so it was just, me learning how things worked. And then not knowing all those things, but also seeking out a mentor that had to be a male. But it was a downfall in one side because I picked up how men act. So men are quick thinkers, they don't have a lot of compassion. So I found myself being, I didn't have sympathy, but I had empathy for people, and I was just very strict and to the point.
How
So
did that make you feel, like being that only woman and having to seek a man? Because I teach self-allyship. So how did that make you feel? Like,
So sometimes I would, be like, I wish there was a woman around so that she could feel how, understand how I feel. At that time, I had a secretary that was at the union hall. She was the closest thing that I could talk to and tell her, because the men would be like, oh, just suck it up. You're just being too, this or that. If there were things that I felt like that we should be a little bit more lenient on, they were like, no, this is it. Stop it. And so that was a struggle. I at times felt like, okay, is this the right thing that I'm doing? But every time I tried to leave, it was my heart that pulled me back. It tugged at my heart and said, there are people out there that cannot speak for themselves. They need your help. You're good with learning laws. Not only that, you're good with numbers. So that was what had me stay there for a period of time. And I knew that I needed that knowledge that they had. That was the next thing. I said, okay, if you stay here, for those that don't know, unions have their own schools, and plus they work with colleges and AFCLIO and different things. So you will get a lot of training, and that was the next passion. It was like, you need that training, so stick it out until you get to your next plan, because I already had things planned out of what I was going to do after that.
come on now, make it work for you until
Yes,
you can elevate and go somewhere and make it work for you. Yes, because a
yes,
lot of times people, because me still being a union worker, I get it, I understand. Um, People, why you stay, why you do this? Because it's an end game in this. It's not just about right now.
right.
And I think if we can stay in it and be able to access the benefits that come with it, it's a gold mine on the end. People think of just right now.
It definitely is.
Yes, yes, yes. Um, you you've likely worked with many women navigating. Excuse me. You've likely worked with many women navigating male-dominated spaces. What's the most important piece of advice you give them about advocating for themselves?
Continue to be you. Do not let anybody change who you are. And you have to speak up for you, because there's no one else that can speak up for you or the women in this, whatever industry it is, because men are not going to speak up for you. You have to be the voice for all other women.
That's right. Come on, somebody, for some self-allyship. I believe in it. I promote that. Because I think we weren't taught that. We were taught to depend on other people, to
Yes,
stand, let other people stand. I think that's the cultural. It's cultural sometimes, and it's also social. That hey, this is what we're supposed to do. This is how we're supposed to show up. Because men have led, and it's as long as it's been, as short as it's been, because not until the early 70s, were women even allowed to have bank accounts. So we always depended on men. So we were raised in that mindset that they knew better and we needed to depend on them. So this is different, us changing the world the way we are.
it absolutely is. And so it's really about women, because, like you said, we were depending on men. We think that because if we come to this table, we just sit there and we just look cute and we smile and we let them talk. No, we have to learn that to come to the table and let your voice be heard, to know when to speak and stand for what you believe in.
I
And
know
so
that's
then,
right.
and then that's what I instill in women. This is a new generation. No longer do you just want to sit at that table and have your name on there and say, hey, my name is Laura and I'm sitting at this corporate America and I sit on this seat. No, you want to be a change agent.
That's right. You want to show up. You no, you don't want to bend and be what they need you to be and just be that
Right,
face, you know. We don't want to just be those boxes that they check anymore,
right. Absolutely.
you know, because the value we bring is so important to those tables.
It
Um,
is.
what does leadership mean to you, especially in a ooh, I'm so tongue tied this morning.
That's okay.
We close to the holidays, so I'm tongue tied, busy. But yes, what does leadership mean to you, especially as a woman in a space where you might have been the first and only?
Leadership to me is very important because it means about us making change, carving out ways for people that are not normally traditional, but non traditional. And it's being able to stand up for all of those that are behind you that will come. So, whenever I do something, I have a daughter, I have two granddaughters. So, I think about that. What type of change do I want to make for them so that when they come along, it's not as hard. It's still going to be hard because we're females and because of our culture, but not as hard if someone is paving the way. So I think about all the people before me who have paved the way, the things that like Shirley Chisholm has done, just numerous amount of people. So we want to be those type of leaders that are able to help the next generation and the people that we're dealing with now.
Yes, come on, somebody. We want to be those shoulders someone stand on.
Yes,
You know, I remember growing up, I remember my dad always said the generation before always reach back and grab the one.
yes,
And like you said, being in these environments where we're the only women, or especially me being the only black woman, it's an honor and a privilege to stand in
yes,
it. It's an
it is.
honor and a privilege to be able to have a voice. To be very honest,
Yes,
so
it is.
I take that in, I take that in consideration with every step that I take. Also, I'm not sure. How do you feel about that?
The same. The same. I was the only black woman that played all these positions. Again, the secretary was the next black woman. So, everywhere that I went, I see no one like me. So now I will tell you in the financial industry and in the tax industry, as I'm just coming back from a tax fraud conference in Las Vegas, I can count the number of women on my hand that look like me that are sitting in those rooms. And even though they are attorneys, most of this is put on by American Bar Association. And so we know those numbers are low, but I can count on my hand the number of women that I've seen and count on two hands the number of African Americans in general.
Do you think for this me just being curious right now, do you think it's the fear of stepping into these industries, or do you think that we just don't aren't pushed in that direction?
I think that it's 50-50. Number one, it is fear. And I'm going to say this from experience because sometimes you will get in rooms, they're professors, they're top people who litigate, and you're like, you will begin to have self doubt. So I'm not going to act like that does not exist. You'll have self doubt. You'll say, ooh, am I sitting in the right room? Because I don't know all of this. But then I wake up and I say, you know what? You in the right room because you're here to learn. And so this is what your passion is. This is what you love to do. But then on another sense, as I sit on a committee, I'm realizing that we do not steer our people or women into this direction, women of color. And so this is something I'm very adamant about, working with those that are in HBCUs and just those that are African American women or minorities altogether.
I hear that. Come on, somebody, Laura, you showing up and showing out for us.
Yes, I definitely try. I definitely try.
Your journey is so inspiring.
Thank
Um,
you.
you're welcome. How do you hope to share your story? How do you hope sharing this story empowers the next generation of leaders?
I always hope that by me telling my story, the things that I've went through helps them to, know that someone else has done it, someone else has tried it, so I can too. And then to at least start. That's the first step. If we start, then who knows where you can go?
I loved it. I love this. You know, I live for this. This is what I
I
live for,
know.
empowering women and seeing us on the other side and bringing as many with me as I can. Um,
Absolutely. When
you
you
know,
have these conversations and you know that the next person is genuine, they become not just, okay, I rehearsed or anything. These are true conversations of things that we've gone through, things that we're going through. So the passion exudes, and then the next person can relate. And it just makes these shows that you're doing and the others are doing so much needed, and it helps those women or anybody to get rid of the fear that they have inside.
yes. I mean, because it really gets me emotional when I
Yes,
think about how we weren't able to show up, how we weren't able to be ourselves, and how we switched back and forth to accommodate somebody else's feelings about us as women. And for you, for me, and for other women to
yes,
be able to speak up now, and for other women to see that, because I see so many women that are afraid to have a voice, afraid to step in these environments. So, you know, just for us to, like you said, to have these conversations, to put it out there, that's why I did this, just because there was a need for them to know you and I are here.
yes, yes.
Yes, yes, yes. If you could go back and give your younger self any advice when you first stepped into these spaces, what would you say?
My advice to my younger self would have been, no matter how they make you feel, like you said, don't switch back and forth. Come as your true self and learn to embrace it, but also learn to really play that game. Because it's all about a game with them. So you have to learn the players and you have to learn how to play.
Yes. I think it's like a chess game, you know.
It is.
You have to learn to move those pieces, not just, you have to watch your opponent so
Yeah,
you'll know his pieces, where they're going, because you want to protect you at all times.
I totally agree.
I think sometimes it's scary to do that, but it's so necessary because it gets you to your next step. I believe that.
Yes, it does. It does.
What's one lesson or mindset shift that was pivotal for your success, and how do you share with others? And how do you share this with other women?
The pivotal moment for me for the mindset was to really understand that you do belong here no matter what people tell you, and that you do have what it takes in you to get whatever job is done, to be the forefront, to be just like you see those other people and you say, I want to make a difference no matter what it is. You can do it. And that was a pivotal mindset for me, because one of the things that, as I stated earlier, sometimes I would have those doubts, and we know they're going to come in, but the more comfortable you are with yourself and who you are and developing who you are, then when you walk in a room, you don't walk in arrogant, but you walk in with confidence, and people can smell the confidence. So I always tell people, just think about it as a dog. When a dog is barking at you, he smells fear if you're fearful. But if you're confident and you walk right on past, not arrogant, he smells your confidence. And so that is what intrigues people to want to get to know you and want to see what you have and what are you about.
That's right. When you recognize your own value, baby, can't
Yes,
nobody take that from you. You
yes,
know, I know they told us that years ago. As black
right.
people, you have to know this and you have to be 10 times as better than the next person. But I look at it now because we know we're worthy. We know that we're supposed to be in these places, but knowing the value that you bring in these places where you know you're supposed to be, that's the key, and not forgetting that.
Absolutely.
I think that that's what sets us apart from that fear when we were younger.
Yes, it is. Because when you're younger, you're just experiencing these things like I was when I started out. I started out in my 20s. These men were 50 and 60 and up in their 40s. A lot of them were about to retire. So, I had never experienced anything like this. So, you're fearful. You're like, okay, what happens? Well, how do I act? All of these things. And so when you have a mentor, and that's the reason I tell people, make sure you have the right mentor, because then your mentor will begin to install things on into you, and then think about it, it takes shape. And so that's how I had that empathy but not sympathy for people.
Come on, somebody, for the empathy. Come on, somebody, for the
Yes.
empathy. I love that. Um, How do you balance staying true to yourself while also navigating environments that may not that may not have always welcomed you?
Just really, reminding myself, what do you stand for? Reminding myself, what is the pure motive behind it? So I always look at my motive. Is the motive pure? Is the motive for me, myself to gain, or is the motive going to set something apart for every one of us? And this is how I remind myself of what I need to do.
All right now. Love that. Reminder, staying mindful of our own wants and needs.
Right.
I love that. Come on, somebody. What is something about your personal journey that people might find surprising?
Um, I'm African Latino.
Okay.
Okay. And when people find that out, they're like, you know what? I can see that. I can see that. Okay.
Okay. Yes. I think that too for you must be a
It
double,
is.
you know, motivation, double
It,
motivation.
it is very double motivation. And at the same time, like you said, it has its pros and cons because sometimes when we look at African Americans, they identify with me when I look at my Latino side. Oh, you're not Latino enough. So it can be two-sided in it, but then it is, saying that all of us don't look alike, and I'm still pushing through for you, and I'm still pushing through for both sides of my culture because I know who I am.
All right. That's right. We're showing up all the way up. They get to get
Yes,
all of us,
yes,
every part of us. My podcast is all about helping women stop seeking validation from others, especially men, and start listening to our own voices. How do you personally embrace this mindset in your own life?
in my whole life, first of all, I sit down again and I look and see, okay, what is it that I really, really need to do, and what is it that I really want to do? And so that is how I embrace all of these things and say, this is the right thing to do, and this is how I'm going to push it, and what do I need to do to push that through? Without seeking other people's validation, about saying, okay, this person won't like me if I say this person won't like me if I do this. But what is that clean and narrow path that I do and that I stand in the right place? Doesn't mean I always get it right, but it means my motive was pure.
That's it. Yeah, because that's what it is, standing in what our belief system is.
Yes.
I think that's what happens a lot of times. We start to waver because we want to be liked, because we want people to see us as good people, as who they can see perceive us as good in their
Yes.
own perceptions of good and bad. But when we start believing in ourselves and standing in our truth, um, our own ethics and our own belief
Right.
system,
Because
that's when it shifts. Yeah.
so I've learned that if you take on someone else's, and their motives may not always be pure, their ethics may not always be right. So if you are not staying to your true to yourself and you're following everything that they want to be, then who are you really?
Yes.
You begin to have an identity crisis. Been there, done that. Then you start switching off. Okay, I'm at work, I'm this person. Now I switch off, I come home, I'm this person. Then I switch off and I come back to work and I'm this person. But let me tell you what happens. At some point, you get tired. So when you get tired, you forget to switch on and off.
That's right.
So that's why you have to be true to who you are. Because there was a time that when I used to be one person at work because I had to be perfect, I had to say the right things, I was so proper. So when I came home, whatever my family spoke, no, this is how we speak. And so it was tiresome. And so then I would begin to see sometimes show up in the corporate mind, well, y'all, no, this is who I am. This is who I am. So I'm like, okay, let me just be who I am.
Yes. Because you get exhausted.
It
I'm
is. It's very tiresome. And I was tired. And I finally, that's when, like you said, identifying who you are. Then I finally said, you know what? This is over. I'm gonna
mm-hmm.
be me. And if they don't like that, then too bad. I'm not going to be the person that they think I should be. Tell me all your business, everything you did, everything about your family. No, I have boundaries and do not come in my personal space.
I know that's right. You see, I had to sit up
Yes.
because I had a person I was coaching, and that's how she felt. She felt that she needed to share everything about her to make everyone else around her in this environment, this male dominated environment she was working in, comfortable so that they would accept her, like her, love her. And, going through those steps with her, understanding she doesn't have to make them okay with her, and they need to figure out why they aren't okay. You're not responsible for them.
Right. And I tell people when I work with a lot of women and I'm working with them to go into these male dominant industries on the financial side, you don't have to tell all of this. Just be straight to the point. Now, there's questions that people will ask me, do you have kids? Yes, I have kids. And I'll just say flat out, just three. I don't have to tell you their names. I don't have to tell you their ages. I don't have to volunteer any of that information. And I think that we as women, because we're nurturing and we're like, again, we depend on men, we think we have to answer those. Yes, you can answer them and be respectful, but you do not have to tell all your business. Because one thing about it is, I've learned and I've seen it. When you start telling all your business, they use those things against you. So you
Talk
have
about
to
it.
know just how much to put out there, how much you want to put out there, not only in business, but even on social media, because that connects what people don't know. They're out there looking, let me see if I can find Lord. Let me see what I find on her page.
That's right. Because they feel they can tie that to exactly who you are at every
Yeah.
moment and
Yes.
define you as whatever that thing is they saw,
Yes.
you
And
know.
and that's it. And I'm like, I am the person that I get to share what I want with you on whatever platform. If it's Instagram, yes, it's open, so you get to see whatever I want you to see. When it comes to Facebook on my private page, no, you're not in there. That's called my privacy for a reason. And still, if some way you get in there, you'll see I'm limited on sharing what I want to share. Again, I'm writing my story and I'm controlling the narrative, not allowing other people to control what I give.
Come on, somebody, for the women not learning that we can control our own narrative
Yes.
out here, that we get to show up. Y'all ladies hear this? It's two women. We telling you. You get to control it. Nobody else gets to control you but you and your narrative, how you move, how you show up. Um, Look, I get excited, so I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. What's one piece of advice you would give a woman listening right now who feels stuck and or unsure of her next move?
One of the things I would say is sit down, get you a piece of paper, and reevaluate everything. See where it is that you want to go, see what you've done, and what is it going to take for you to get there. Does that mean getting into a program? Getting a mentor that is going to be able to guide you. Whatever the steps are, you have to take those steps. There is no shortcut. This is a microwave generation, but I'm sorry, we don't heat it up in 1 minute and it's done. It takes time. This, you see a product of over 18 years. It didn't just start overnight.
That's right. Come on, somebody. So now, I know that you have LBE Consulting. What's next for you? How do you plan to continue impacting women in male dominated industries?
My next thing is to really get a program or to work with a program that does, take women to help them to navigate in male dominant industries and teach them the things that they need to know. Not just on the finance side, but on the operation side, every side that I have seen in business. So, and then not even in business, just in yourself as a financial therapist coach, that financial therapy helps me to be able to teach people to address situations, what is being hidden, what is that fear, that to overcome it. So that's my goal for my next journey.
Okay, so tell me how women can get in touch with you. Tell me all the things that If you have anything you want to share with them, tell me all the things about you, Lori, that you want the audience to know.
Okay. So first, they can get in touch with me through my website, which is www.lbeconsulting.com. They can find me on Instagram as the Tax CEO. They can find me on TikTok as the Tax CEO, and on Facebook it's LBE Consulting. And we are going to January the 5th. If you are in the Dallas Fort Worth area, we are having a women's empowerment brunch. So I will be hosting that. And just stay tuned. It will tell you when you can start the ticket sales. And then once you purchase the ticket, then we open up the location of where it is. So, also in April, we start financial literacy. And so then if they're watching my pages, there's so many financial literacy places that I will be, it's a long list of them to name, but we'll list them out as we're going. And if they continue to watch my page, they'll see all the different things that I'll be participating in and coming in 2025.
All right, Laura, I'm excited. I wish I was going to be in Dallas for this empowerment brunch. I'm always for meeting new women, doing big things, and especially some good food. I ain't even going to lie to you.
Yes, yes.
But yes, I thank you so much for showing up here today. I thank you for sharing your story, sharing, you know, just your point of view. It was enlightening. And I just can't wait to continue to interact and we grow together and see each other on the other side of 2025.
Yes, thank you so much. I thank you for having me, and I thank you most of all for doing this for the women that so much need it.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate you doing it on your end. We are about to change the world together.
Yes,
All right. You have a wonderful and happy, all the things.
you too.
All right. Sis, if this conversation didn't light you a fire, I don't know what will. Sis, if this conversation didn't light you on fire, I don't know what will. Laura's journey is proof that you don't have to shrink, ask for permission. What in Jesus' name? Why is it going so fast? Okay, we're going to start over. Sis, Sis, if this conversation didn't light you on fire, I don't know what will. Laura's journey is proof that you don't have to twist, shrink, or ask for permission to take up space. You belong in every room you step into, not just to sit there, but to speak, lead, and own your place. If today's episode spoke to you, here's what I want you to do. Follow and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Share with a woman who needs to hear it because we're not doing this alone. Take my confidence quiz to start owning a space in a male-dominated industry. Link in the show notes. I'm going to do this over. Hey, sis, if this conversation didn't light you on fire, I don't know what will. Laura's journey is proof that you don't have to twist, shrink, or ask for permission to take up space. You belong in every room you step into, not just to sit there, but to speak, lead, and own your place. If today's episode spoke to you, touched you, here's what I want you to do. Follow and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Share this with a woman who needs to hear it because we're not doing this alone. Take my confidence quiz to start owning your space in a male-dominated industry. The link is in the show notes. Book a session with me if you're ready to stop seeking validation and to step fully into your power. Sis, you don't have to figure this out alone. I got you. Next time, walk through the door differently. Show up, show out, be you, and guess what? I'll see you next Monday.
Strong and fierce.